Welcome back to Cooking with Magic. Today we are going to be making tamarind-braised short ribs and potato pave. You can find this at Tiffins, which is located inside the Disney's Animal Kingdom Park in Orlando, Florida. You're going to really like these ribs. It's probably one of the best things I had on my last trip there. As always, please like, subscribe, share, comment, anything you can do to get exposure to the podcast and to this video. Thank you very much, and let's get to cooking. But before we begin, I do want to warn you, this is not a quick and easy meal to make during the week after work. You definitely need to take some time with this one. There's going to be a lot of wait time. For example, with the potatoes, we're going to, at one point, those are going to be refrigerated up to 6 hours, at least 6 hours overnight even, which is what I'm going to do. The ribs themselves are going to take about 4 hours to cook. After we cook those for 4 hours, we're going to drain the juice off, put it in the fridge for about an hour to let the fat rise, all kinds of stuff like that. So it's a very time-consuming meal. Now, the good thing is there's a lot of downtime, so you can be doing stuff around the house and while it's cooking, maybe just relaxing, watching a movie, reading a book. Hey, Patches, what you doing, buddy? That kind of thing. So take your time. It's a great weekend meal, something you can just relax and let it cook while you're doing other stuff, and it's pretty impressive once you're done. So it's going to be worth the wait. For your ingredients, this is going to be dictated on how big of a pan you have. This is just a loaf bread pan that I have. You're also going to need some parchment paper. 2 to 3 potatoes, russet potatoes, salt, pepper, garlic, chives, thyme, butter, and whipping. All right, so just put all of your whipping cream in a bowl, enough that there is to cover the potatoes. Put your salt and pepper in there. Again, however much potatoes you're going to need is going to be dictated by the size of your pan, but just make sure there's enough whipping cream to cover those potatoes. We're going to let them soak for about 10-15 minutes. So your potatoes are going to need to fit in this pan. So you need to trim them to where they're the right size. Then we're going to cut them real thin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a straight edge, and I'm going to use my mandolin to cut them super thin. If you don't have a mandolin, you can just slice these by hand, but just try to slice them as thin as possible. But the mandolin definitely gives you that uniform size. Just go ahead and cut them all off into the whipping cream. Of course, be careful, especially if you're not using the guard for any reason. Definitely is a sharp object. I'm going to cut the other potato as well. Just make sure these all stuck together so they can all get in the cream there. Now while the potatoes are soaking, go ahead and preheat your oven to 350. We're going to cook these potatoes for about an hour. Just depends on, again, how many you have, how deep your dish is, but an hour is usually pretty good for most potatoes. You just want them to be soft, just like ready to eat. You don't want them too hard in the middle. These are eventually going to go in the refrigerator for about 6 hours, maybe overnight. So that's why we're prepping this up now, and we'll serve it as a side for our ribs. So parchment paper, go ahead and get some parchment paper in your pan. You're going to want to leave a few inches hanging over to make it easier to take in and out. So just eyeball it. So that's going to be really loud while it's on camera, but sorry about that. But yeah, then we're just going to layer all of the potatoes in here, throw them in the oven for about an hour covered with foil, and then take them out, let them cool for the next step. All right, for the next step, we're just going to layer our potatoes. I'm going to put a little bit of butter in between each layer. I'm going to shred the butter with just a little cheese shredder, okay? But just layer them in there. Don't need much. It's going to be a lot of butter in here. It's going to be a lot of layers. And we're just going to continue that until we either run out of potatoes or we run out of pan. Alright, so let's just fold over our parchment paper, cover this with foil. We're going to bake it for 350 for about an hour. After you remove the potatoes from the oven, let them cool completely. Cut yourself a little piece of cardboard that will fit inside the pan. You can just use the foil that you covered the potatoes with originally. Make sure it fits inside there. Then you want to weigh it down. I'm just going to use some canned goods here. We're going to put that back in the fridge for at least 6 hours. I'm going to put mine overnight, and then we're going to make these tomorrow for dinner as a side with our ribs. So those are going in the fridge, and we'll be back tomorrow to cook the ribs. All right, day 2. The potatoes are still in the fridge. We're going to pull those out about an hour before we're ready to finalize everything. As I mentioned before, this is going to be a long recipe. It's going to take a while to cook it. Today we're going to do the ribs. Those are going to be braised in the oven for about 4 hours. So again, give yourself plenty of time. So yeah, let's get to it. All right, so our ingredients: your short ribs, some coarse black pepper, kosher salt, tamarind paste, which I could not find, so I bought tamarind chutney. We're going to see how that works out. Might have to adjust it during the recipe. We'll see what's going on. 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, an onion, a couple ribs of celery, carrot, garlic, some peppers, some dried peppers, red peppers, which also 2 bay leaves. And if you don't know how to measure your red hot peppers, you could just give it away, give it away, give it away now. Chicken broth, some Worcestershire sauce, a cup of red wine, and half a cup of red wine vinegar. All right, so we're going to chop up the onions, the celery, the carrots, the garlic. We'll get that started, and then we'll go from there. While you are prepping your ingredients, go ahead and preheat your oven to 225. Go ahead and do your meat before you chop all your veggies. That's going to give it some time to rest. Again, just some kosher salt liberally and some cracked pepper. This will also allow your meat to kind of warm up. If it's been in the fridge, get it up to room temperature so it'll cook more evenly. I've got my Dutch oven ready. I'm going to start that on about a medium heat while I'm chopping my veggies. That way it's nice and hot, ready to go. We're going to brown these ribs on all sides, about 5-10 minutes each side, and let them set on a plate for a minute. All right, so we got our carrots, celery, onions chopped up. This is a cool little gadget if you can find one. I think I got it from Pampered Chef. You can put your garlic in there, and then it's going to slice it nice and thin. And that's really good for things that you're simmering for hours. I really like the way that works because that garlic is super thin and it just basically dissolves into your sauce. So at this point, your Dutch oven should be hot enough. If you want to test it, just splash a little water. You'll hear that little sizzle. That's what you're looking for. Let's go ahead and throw the ribs in. Actually. And so a little oil in, and we're going to brown these ribs, set them on the plate. So work in batches, you don't want to overcrowd it. About 3 or 4 in there is good. Let those cook for about 5-6 minutes. Alright, so those are looking pretty good. It's okay if they stick a little bit to the pan because you want to have all those scrapings at the bottom when we start doing our veggies, but that looks pretty good. Set those on the plate, on the side, let them rest, and just continue to do that until you have all your ribs browned. So just leave everything as it is. We're going to throw in all of our veggies, our onions, celery, carrots, and wait a few minutes to put the garlic in. We don't want the garlic to burn. So once those onions start getting real soft, let's go and throw the garlic in. Again, I don't want to cook the garlic the whole time for it'll burn. Just same thing, once that garlic gets soft, we're going to start throwing everything else in the pot. Alright, so now we are going to add in pretty much the rest of the ingredients. Let's go ahead and put that brown sugar in first. That way we can mix it up, get it nice and incorporated. Just spread it out. Then put in all your wines, your cooking wine and your red wine. Just a couple splashes of Worcestershire sauce. And last, we're going to do the chutney. The Tamarind Chutney. Now again, the recipe calls for paste, so I'm not sure if that's going to be an issue with this thickening up or not, but I didn't have it, so I'm just going to put a little splash of that. And we'll put some cornstarch later if we need to thicken it up. Okay. Ribs go back in. Before we do that, let's put our bay leaf and our peppers. Ribs go in. Then we're just going to put some chicken broth on top. I got about 3 cups of chicken broth. Not sure if I'm going to use it all or not. I'm just going to want it to just barely cover the ribs. Okay. Not enough room here. Make some room. If there's any juice in there, let's pour that in. Again, chicken broth. So probably about 2 cups. Now, we're going to bring that up to a boil. Cover it, bring it up to a boil. Then it's going to go in the oven, 225 for 4 hours. Okay. And now that we're boiling, we're ready to go. We're going to throw that in the oven at 225 for 4 hours. It's been about 4 hours. I'm going to take this Dutch oven out of the oven. And look at that. That looks amazing. So we're going to take the ribs out of here and put them on the plate. They're practically falling off the bone right now. I'm going to let them rest a little bit. Next, set yourself up a bowl and a strainer. We're going to strain all the veggies and the bay leaf and all that. We're going to strain that all out from the juice. Then we're going to place that bowl in the fridge for about an hour or so, let it cool off. The fat, if there's any, should rise to the top. We'll scrape that off, and that's going to be our sauce that we're going to use for the ribs. Last few steps. We're going to create sauce. It's not really a gravy. It's going to reduce down. Then we're going to put the ribs back in there to warm them back up and get the sauce on all the meat. We're going to put that off to the side. Then we're going to do our potatoes. If you remember, we had our potatoes resting overnight. We're going to cut those, fry them up. I'll show you that after we do this little sauce here. So get the Dutch oven ready again. I will tell you, I'd go ahead and put some cornstarch in here just because I felt like it was not going to be thick enough. We'll see if that's a mistake or not, but we'll find out soon. And then just turn it up, get it to a boil, then we're going to just reduce it down. Just keep working it. Don't let it burn as it reduces. Just give it a stir every few seconds until it gets to about the thickness that you want. So you can see it's starting to thicken up a little bit, but still not quite ready. I want it to be more like a syrup. It's getting a little thicker. I think it still needs a little more time though, maybe 5-10 more minutes. All right, don't want it to go anymore because I'm afraid that I won't have any sauce left for my ribs. So let's put the ribs back in, cover it, and then we're going to start our potatoes. Look at that, some of it is just not, there's not even any bones. It won't even stay on the bones. So while your ribs are warming back up in the sauce, let's go ahead and get our potato pavi ready. A couple cloves of garlic, thyme, chives. The chives we're just going to chop for garnish. Going to need a couple of sprigs of the thyme. Garlic, just go ahead and open it up a little bit so it'll let out its juices in this oil. We are going to basically fry up these potatoes in the oil. So we got our little cardboard there that we made last night to squish them down. That's gone. We're going to get rid of the parchment paper. I'm going to throw these on here. And we're basically going to cut them into little squares, rectangles, if you will. Or not. A little trouble getting this. There we go. There we go. Parchment paper. Now we're ready. So try to make it as even as possible. If there's any rough edges, let's get rid of that. You can feed that to your dog. Patches. So go ahead and cut it in half and use that to make your potato pave. So that's what we're looking for, those squares like that. Then we're going to put the oil, get it hot, garlic, thyme, then saute these potatoes. All right, garlic down, a little bit of thyme, and then let's put in our potatoes. All right, let's plate it up. As I mentioned, this stuff is just falling right off the bone. So the bones definitely give it a better presentation, but you might not be able to keep it. I'm going to put a little more salt and pepper on the potatoes. Some chives on top. And there you have it. And there we have it. Tamarind, short ribs, and potatoes pavo from Tiffins. Let's give it a try. I like the potatoes, the little layers. Not bad. Definitely need a little salt at the end though. But I like the little, they come apart like in little layers like a biscuit. Let's see about the ribs. I mean, again, they just fall right off the bone. It's amazing. A little spicy, but good. Definitely a lot of flavor. Probably could have left a little bit of the chili peppers out, especially if you have someone who doesn't like spicy. It's definitely got a kick to it, but the meat, again, just falls right off the bone. Super tender, a lot of flavor. Can't go wrong. A lot of work, but definitely worth the time spent. So, yeah, these are great. Thank you again for joining me for this episode of Cooking with Magic. As always, we can book you to any Disney destination you'd like to go to. If you want to stay at Animal Kingdom Lodge, Just right there, straight shot to the park. Head over to Tiffins for dinner. Great place. You're going to love Tiffins, especially if you like a little bit of food that's not on the norm. It's not the basic theme park food. We can set you up there anywhere, any Walt Disney World destination. You can email me at lee@magicourway.com. Check out the Facebook page at facebook.com/Lastovica Travel. That's Lastovica Travel. You can find me on Instagram at You Got a Friend in Lee Travel. You can also find me on TikTok at You Got a Friend in Lee. If you do any of that, we'll get you hooked up and booked up. So till next time, magic out.
And we want to just take a second and thank our lovely Patreon supporters. There they are. And look, if you want to up your support of the Magic Our Way podcast, go to patreon.com/Magic Our Way. There you'll find awesome tiers from which you can choose from to help support the Magic Our Way podcast. Again, go to patreon.com/Magic Our Way.